Can everyone see me okay? Just doing a quick test. Welcome to the Helmar card and holiday card and Tag-apalooza. I just decided to get everything out and start making stuff with all of you guys to follow along. I wanted to show you some of the fun things you can do using Helmar adhesives. And my glasses are really glaring, so I'm going to take them off. Hopefully I won't have to read too much while I'm talking to you guys here. So, hello! Okay, first things first. I don't know how you guys are about being organized. I'm not a really organized person, but the one thing that I love to do is find sales throughout the year of Christmas stuff. There's always like one-offs, two-offs, and this is my drawer of just holiday stuff. And I'll find like one sheet of this or something of that, or if it's got a snowflake or a Christmas tree on it, I'm buying it and stick it in this drawer so I can actually do something when it comes time for the holidays. So here we are. It's time. And my other thing I do to help keep me organized when it comes to making cards and things is I hate scraps of paper, but they're a reality. So since we have to deal with them, what I do is I cut up, I don't know if you can see this. This is just a little coupon book thing, and I cut up all the scraps I get into like 4x4 and little 2x4 little pieces of paper. And so this is like every single color under the rainbow of just scraps in this coupon holder. And so if I need something to mat or put a sentiment on, I'm all set to go. So I don't have to be living and dying by my trimmer. So it just helps a lot. So that's how I get organized to get started. And now I have a couple cards I'm going to share with you. So let's get going. Let me get down to the little working camera. See if this works. There we go. Now you can see me. The first card I'm going to show you is how to make this one. And I gotta see if that's upside down to you. Which way is the right way? I always get confused about that. There we go. Now you can see it. So this little card is just something that I made. And it's got lots of different surfaces, and so it needs a lot of different adhesives to make it work. Okay, can everyone see that all right? All right, so this is not that difficult to make, actually. We'll leave like the finished one up there. What I start with, obviously, is a card part. And if you're not familiar with like how to make cards and things, let's just start with the basics, because we can always start there. Think of this as an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Okay? Cut it in half, and you've got 2 card bases. Fold it in half, and you've got a card. Now, if you don't have a fancy schmancy scoring tool, you probably have a trimmer. And so I'm going to show you my fancy should buy the tool thing. Since this is a standard size card, which will end up being 5.5 by 4.25, I'm just going to take this to 4.25 on the guide. And because I don't have a fancy scoring blade, I'm going to use the back of the old butter knife. Now, someone's going to invent this in pink and sell it to you for a lot of money, but just put it in the back of the butter knife, get it in the track, and there you go. Now you've got a perfectly scored card. So fancy. Okay, so that's just a little tip from me to you. That's how you can make your card bases. So once again, 8.5 by 11. Cut it in half, fold it in half, voila, card. This one happens to be cream color. Now, to start with this particular card, I did what's called heat embossing, so that this has raised lettering, and I actually did it on the card front here. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that, and then I'll flip to the already baked version so I don't waste a lot of your time. That's how I think of this. It's kind of like a cooking show. Alright, so I'm just going to take some embossing ink, and this stuff really doesn't have a color to it. It just stays wet for a while so that embossing powder can stick to it. So I've got my stamp here on my block, and I stick it on the card and stamp, and you don't see barely anything. Okay, boring, right? Well, I'm stamping all over that a couple times, imagine. And then I take this magical stuff called embossing powder. This is a Judykins embossing powder. And I'm just going to stir this for a minute and use it as a funnel. Of course, I didn't put my thing here. You put the embossing powder on the card base And then if you're really lucky and neat, ooh, almost perfection. You put the powder on and it just sticks to where you put the ink. See? Pretty. No, it's not. It actually looks kind of dull and lifeless because it's got that sandy look of the existing powder. But when we take a heat tool to it, we're actually going to have it raise up and sparkle up because this is a nice metallic gold. So I'm just going to take my heat tool. This is not a hair dryer. It is an embossing heat tool. And so it's got not much blow, but a good amount of heat comes through it. And it will melt this powder so it'll raise up and be shiny. It doesn't take very long. You don't want to use a blow dryer because that would just blow your powder away. You don't want to grab a paint stripper from the shed because that's just going to burn your paper. So use the right tool for the job, and in just moments we've got, and I'm going to actually stop too early. I want you to see the difference in this part, let me get this straight to you, is done. And this part right on the C, can you see how dark that is in comparison? It's not done. So it would just brush right off. And we don't want to have a card that keeps on giving. So you just got to make sure everything has the right color, everything is the same uniform color, and is all melted. Okay? And that's it. We're done. So hopefully, if you haven't done this before, it's a nice, easy way to get that taken care of. Okay? And now, through the magic of television, I've done the whole back because I don't want to bore you. So, that's our whole card front, all covered with beautiful heat embossed words. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I created a little frame of paper. And, I just cut this out using my trimmer. And because, I didn't go and use a funky little die cut or something to do it, I'm just going to show you how that's done real quick. Sometimes the things that I consider simple, sometimes they're a little mystifying. So I'm going to take this piece of paper, I'm going to cut it to 5.5 by 4.25. So now I've got my perfect square that covers my card front. And then I'm just going to use the little line here on the trimmer. If you look right here, it goes over to 1 inch. But if I just go over 2 ticks, that's about a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to have a 1/2 inch over. I'm going to just eyeball where that is here. About a 1/2 inch in and line it up with that line again. And I'm going to go all the way around and cut a window out of my card. It's really not that hard. No math really required. No special embossing, die cutting things needed to do this. Alright, and it's as easy as that. See, not too hard. Toss these papers on the floor because I didn't put a trash can here. Okay, so we've cut our window out. I have 2 then, yay! Okay, so we're on our way. Now the next element of this card is the transparency. And I stamped these with a Stays On ink onto a transparency sheet that I had. You can use packaging if you find it, whatever you want to use. Stays On ink works for non-porous surfaces, so that's going to stay on there. And there are several ways I could color this in, but I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. Because I like to sit here and just stamp these things, and then I don't know which side is the right side and which side is the wrong side. I can't feel the ink. But if I put an alcohol ink in contact with this, it's going to make it run if I'm not on the wrong side, if that makes any sense. A solvent-based ink will just run away once you touch it with alcohol ink. So you have to know which side is the right side and the wrong side. Same thing would go with Copic markers, etc. But I found a really fun way to color these is using a new product by Art Anthology. It's called Sorbet. And I'm just going to take a couple colors of this out. This is called Sorbet, and I'm just going to take these, convenient little lid, and a water brush. And I'm not really using the water in it only for cleaning. I'm going to flip it onto the wrong side, the side that I don't want to have facing up. and just start painting in the leaves. Hopefully everybody can see that okay-ish. I'll hold it up. So just painting in, I'm putting kind of a green gold at the base of each of these leaves. And I'll go pretty quickly here and then show you a finished version so you can get an idea of how this works. Okay, all the leaves are done. Let's wipe off my brush and move on to the next color. I have to clean up as I go or I make just a god-awful mess. Alright, next color. This one's called Evergreen, which is obviously very appropriate for what we're doing. And I'm just going to kind of smudge between the two colors, kind of a watercolory feel. Draw that out a bit. And this is just a gel medium based paint, but it's got glitter and mica in it. And the beauty of it is that it will attach to non-porous surfaces like this transparency. It'll work on paper and stuff too, but also, since it's gel medium based, it's not going to mess with the ink. So it'll leave it alone and let me do my work. So I'm just drawing that out. And this paint company is Art Anthology. They're going to be a new exhibitor at Winter CHA. I think some people were asking where these come from. Art Anthology, and this is Sorbet, one of their products. Now I'm using all these funky materials, the metallic paper and the transparency and all this stuff, and we're obviously going to need the right adhesives to do the job, so you'll see why I love Helmar so much when I start getting in my card making mood. One more color. This is just the most gorgeous red, Eva, and we'll just put this here in the berries. Okay, so now I'm going to show you two different opinions, and you can decide which way you'd want to do this. This stuff dries rather quickly. If I was a total brat and had used laser transparencies, I could actually use a heat tool to dry this, but I don't know where these came from. I tend to steal stuff from packaging, so I'm not going to go crinkle it up to find out. So this is what it looks like. I'll get one that's dry. This is what it looks like when it's still wet, and this is on the side that's actually painted on. So it's a little watercolory looking. It's interesting. And then the wrong side actually looks very smooth, and on the wrong side you can very clearly see the veins and all the details of the stamp because it's not obscured by the paint, because it's like this is sitting on the bottom and all the details are on top. So it's kind of up to you which way you want to go. This way, a little more painterly, can't quite see the details as well even though it is translucent, or this way. It's kind of like picking nits. You could do it one way or the other. It doesn't really matter. Okay, cut this out since it's already dry. And set aside the others to dry. All right, now I need to get this one down to size. So it's got to be a little bit skinnier than the card is wide. I'm going to go about 4 inches. And I'll probably leave it about where it is as far as the width. Okay, so to get this part to work now, let's put these all together. It's looking good. I wanted to, I could put in a bit of a gold or something over that. I may do that just for fun because I love metallic papers, and this is just too pretty. So pull one more paper out, do our little trick of trimming. A little bit narrower piece, a little bit less of it than the former. I've made this about 4 by 5.5. I'm sorry, 4 by 5 1/4. And once again, I'm going to go over to the 1/2 inch mark on my trimmer and just kind of go around and cut out a frame. Because while I don't love doing the same thing over and over and over, when I find a card design I like, I tend to make like 5 or 6 of the same thing, just for grins. Okay, so there's our little frame. And now we have this whole sandwich. Now, I don't want this to be stuck down to that because I want it to have a little bit of depth. So, what I'm going to do is first stick down this frame. And I'm just going to use a nice basic paper adhesive. This is just acid-free. I tend to bring this one out when I'm doing holiday cards because I have pictures and stuff that I use in my cards. And it's nice and photo safe too. It's an archival. Glue, dries clear. It's awesome and works great with papers. Okay, so there's our outer frame. I happen to love wet glue because I have wiggle room. I can adjust things a lot easier. Personal preference. Then this guy is a non-porous material, and I need to glue it down with something a little different, and that's where I'm going to pull out my Helmar 450 quick dry adhesive, because this works really well for the non-porous materials. It's like a solvent-based glue, I think. Don't get me into the chemistry. What if I'm not opening it properly? Okay, don't laugh at the instructor. Yeah, that's my new bottle. Would help if she removed the liner. No amount of squeezing is going to do us any good with that still in there. And we all got to do that once just to show that we're idiots on live editing. Okay. Ignore that. Just going to put a little glue here along the bottom. Oh, look, glue. On the top. And stick this puppy down. On top of my frame. And I just love when it just practically disappears. I love 450. And then this paper is just a real thick metallic paper. Because it's a little bit coated, I'm going to go ahead and use 450 on it as well. For that inner frame. Okay, a little wiggle room, get it the way you want it. And voila, it's done. Okay, so putting the solvent glue on the parts of it that are away from all the ink and everything, we don't have to worry about it messing with the image that I worked with, but it works really great for a nice quick dry with various materials like the transparency that we're using here, the coated metallic paper, and then just on top of the regular papers. Awesome. Any questions on this card? Any techniques that you didn't understand, I'd be happy to review. All right, then we are going to move on. We'll come back to them later, maybe at the end. While I have a short break, I want to type in a code. Oh, how long does it usually take to have the sorbet dry? Within minutes. So this one I just painted, and this is already dry on the leaves. I can see it's still a little wet on because I dotted it into the dots, but already the leaves are dry, so maybe 5 minutes at the most. So very quick drying. And for those of you who are online tonight, I'm going to type in a code that you can use on Helmar's website to get a discount on the adhesives that you like that you're seeing tonight. And there it is. And I'm sure that Ms. Cheryl will be putting the links that you can use to actually go make your purchases if you like something. All right, next up. Let's see, we're going to do a simpler guy. I had this little bit of paper. It was all I had left. And then I had this ribbon, which I thought was really pretty, but I didn't really have enough to do anything with the package, so I thought it would work really nice on a card. So, just going to trim that down a little bit. And we'll use this for our card. And I can put adhesive on the front if I want to, but it's got a little wire going through the ribbon, so I'm just going to bend it here and bend it here and only put the adhesive in the back so I can be tricky. And that way I'll still have a really nice loose feel of the ribbon on the front. Just press it down for a moment and get that to adhere. And this is using the Helmar 450 Quick Dry again, which is just really great for fabric and ribbon. And it has a nice quick grab. Enough time to move things around to get it the way you want it, and then it grabs really quickly. So, quick card layer on there. Then I had a little bit of, where did I put it? A little bit of this fun stuff. Tissue paper. I forget what this is called. Crepe paper. And I love to work with this also with the 450. And so I'm going to show you one of the reasons that 450 is really great to work with because of wet media. If I'm going to use something wet when I'm working on a card, that's an ugly mat, isn't it? Let's flip over to a slightly cleaner side. I never clean my mats. I'm going to go ahead and spray a bit of this with some spray colorations just to give it a little bit of pop. Okay. Even though I hate to get rid of all this extra, I'm going to clean it off. And this, we got to get to dry. So just grab the heat tool. And I'm working on one of these non-stick craft mats, which is heat resistant, so you're not going to hurt your countertop as you're working. And I'm just going to get that slightly dry. I don't really care if it's wet because my glue will adhere to it, but crepe paper is one of those things that just really tears easily when it's wet, so I like to get it at least to a good state. When it starts blowing around on my mat, then I'll know I'm kind of where I need to be. Because I don't want it to rip as I'm playing around with it. That's no fun. Alright. Now, back to my little card. That's gone. I'll clean up as I go here, making a mess. Alright. Now I want to kind of scrunch this up along the side. So I'm going to take, once again, my Helmar 450, and I'm going to lay a bead of this on the side, and then I'm going to lay the crepe paper on here, and I'm kind of gathering it just a little bit, just kind of clumping it, and then scrunching it together actually on the project. There we go. Give it a little bit of a scrunch, maybe a little bit more. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. And see, it moves around enough with the 450. It's a quick grabber, but it's going to let me have enough time to get this the way I want it to be. Now, just tear off the extra. Oops. Yes, a scissor is sometimes a good tool. And Helmar 450 is nice because you can work with things while they're still wet and it doesn't care. So you can get a nice little ruffled bit of crepe paper on your project if you want to. Okay. I like crepe paper. Then I've got this little snowman. And this is a self-adhesive chipboard, which I think we all know that's a joke. So we're not going to pretend that it's actually going to adhere to something without a little help from our adhesive. And so we're going to bring in the Helmar 450 Quick Dry again because it's kind of a non-porous surface. Stick that puppy down. I'm not really liking how this turned out. I'm going to trim it a bit. Yeah, a little bit better. It's a little more even looking. And then I got this cute little broom, but I want it to be dimensional. I want it to be sitting sort of on top. So I'm going to go ahead and take some Zap Dots. And you have all kinds of different sizes of these. They're just fabulous. Look at all the different choices I have. I can use one of these square ones for the bottom of the broom for this card. Go ahead and stick a square one here. Remove the adhesive backing, and then I'm going to grab one of these little bitty squares for the handle. And even this is a little bigger than it needs to be for the handle of the broom, so I'm just going to take my scissor. These scissors are the wonderful coated non-stick Teflon, so you can like cut things in half and it won't stick to the scissor. There we go. Peel off the backing. Slippery little suckers. This is why I should have my glasses on. I cannot see. There we go. Now we can go ahead and stick that down on the card. And so now it'll maintain its dimension. And there we go. Nope, a little too close. Can you see me? Just super cute. So just showing you again, even if you have just like one little bit of ribbon, one little bit of something, something, you can make a fun card out of it. So no scraps required. So we are moving right along on this card in Tag-apalooza. How are we doing so far? Hopefully you found something you want to make. All right, so in this project we used Helmar 450 pretty much exclusively to do all of our adhering for the ribbon, for the crepe paper, and for the chipboard. Moving right along. Once again, if you like any of the adhesives you're seeing tonight, I'm going to go ahead and type in a coupon code you can use on Helmar's website to get a discount. And Cheryl, my moderator, will put up the website if you don't see it already on there. Okay, next. Next up is this itty bitty little guy here. And I kind of thought of him as a gift tag or just part of a card. All kinds of different things you could do with it. A little bit more of a vintage feel to this piece. Alright, so let's get going. Lots of different glues we have to use to make this puppy work. Bring over my papers and we'll get started. First things first, cleaning up my workspace. Okay, first thing I have is this little die cut that I got from a company a long time ago. I'm sorry, I don't know where you can get them now, but I thought it was just really cute. And I'm going to trim this down to make it a bit smaller. I will just give you one hint about what I did to make it work for my project. And that is here you can see that these windows are just matte, flat, just like the chipboard that they're printed on. And here, up top, you can see that they're glossy. And I just used a product called Glossy Accents and filled those in and let it dry. So just to give it a little more of a realism to the die cut. Go ahead and trim this down to size. That's what I want it to be for my card. Ish. Okay. Then I've got another layer here. And put this on here. And just make this a square. I'm sorry, rectangle. Okay. And then I've got some embellishments that I want to add. Now, to glue these two together, easy peasy. You can use anything. I can use my acid-free glue. It's paper to paper. It's an easy. I could go ahead and use, I tend to use wet glues a lot because I like the wiggle room. But you could go ahead and use your roller. You know, these work really well for this kind of project too. But I like a little wiggle room to make sure everything's where I want it to be. So that's why I tend to go liquid. Okay, the next piece, I've gone ahead and stamped on this little ticket. And I'm going to put this on. Once again, I can just use my acid-free glue. Put that in the corner. It dries clear. It has a nice quick grab to it as well. Then I've got another stamped piece. I'll just use my acid-free glue. Stick that across here. And now is where things get interesting, because now I've got a really fun, I don't know if you've seen this film strip ribbon. It's great stuff, but it's this non-porous material, so you need to use something such as a 450 to get it to attach. A quick dry 450 glue will make this work no problem. And as long as you don't have the image underneath stamped with like a solvent ink, you won't have any issues. Solvent inks and solvent glue make mud. So remember that. Don't use StazOn and layer it with this or you're going to have mud. But your basic dye inks, I believe this is like a Memento from Sukineko, they don't mind at all. So you can go ahead and use it with dye inks. And that's all hooked together. And then next, I've got some little flowers. This is just a little seasonal mix from Prima. So I'm going to go ahead and layer a couple of these. Already got those glued together. And then I have a cute little bunch of gems. Would that these were real gems. Oh, I've got one right here. And now I'm going to use gemstone glue. The reason you want to use this versus like a Helmar 450 is most of these have this silver backing, which is what makes them look shiny. And if you use a glue such as a Helmar 450, it's going to remove that backing if it moves around too much. So this one is safe to use with little crystals and things so that that silver backing stays in place. So we just need a little tiny bit. And we'll go ahead and stick our little gem on there. So gemstone glue works for gemstones. Okay. Oh, I need a leaf. You guys are helping me get lots and lots of projects done tonight, so thank you. Now I am going to rely on my 450 just to put a little globber here. And get my leaf down. And my flower. Okay. And the last embellishment here doesn't require any adhesive, but I just have these great little paper clips and some number charms that I'm going to stick across the front. Oops, don't move it while your glue is still sticking down. Oh, look what I did. I got my 5 right off there. Smart girl. Gotta do it live. Okay, we're pretending. Whoop, there it is. It's perfect. Rather than me struggling with my little charms, I'm just going to show you the finished one. Okay. So this is something you could do like this, or you could go bigger and like take a shipping tag, you know, layer that and go ahead and stick that on if you want to go a little bigger. Use it as a card focal point. Lots of different choices you can make with this. And that's just kind of a fun idea. Definitely could use it for a gift tag or all kinds of different ideas. All right, and that's our third piece for tonight. See, we're getting lots and lots done. To chase down that little thing later. All right, next up, just going to show you some quick ideas. Because I don't know if you're a card maker like I am. I have a bin full of things I've made that I never use. Sometimes I just playing around with stuff, and I look at the thing and I'm like, what am I going to use this for? And it never gets used, and it sits in the bin, and then I think, well, what about Christmas? Well, there's something like a nice green on here. There's a little bit of reddish in there. And so I went to the ginormous bin of stuff that I saved throughout the year, and I found a chipboard embellishment that's just perfect to make this into a holiday card. So, once again, remembering that self-adhesive chipboard is a lie. Do pull off the chipboard liner so you don't end up having it just release on you, because it will come off. But self-adhesive chipboard never sticks well enough, so I'm just going to get the liner off and go ahead and put the Helmar 450 on here. And I know that this is going to be arriving at my friend's house in one piece and not in pieces. Simple. That's what the bin is good for. So now I've got something that had no purpose, and it's a quick purpose. So oftentimes I've got things like that in my bin. Here's another one. So I'm going to show you my thought process. Had this one in the bin. Pink and blue, not sure what to do with it, but it never turned into a card this year, and it's time to clean out the drawer. So, started with this, and I think the best way to get something to have a holiday feel first is glitter. So I have glittery paper, and I'm going to use that glittery paper and put it on here. So I'll just take my acid-free glue, and bam, we got a layer. Getting started. Then, next thing I found was, of course, once again, a piece of chipboard. This could be used like a little frame or something, and it looked like a wreath. Thought that's fun. Get the liner off. Laugh heartily about the idea about self-adhesive chipboard never working. And use our Helmar 450 to fix it up. I'm going to put this here. And then, from the bin of lost things that we never use anymore, metal rim tags. Remember these? A little bit of 450 on here, right in the center. I'll stick that in our little thing for a focal point. And then I had a little snowflake button. Once again, non-porous, so we're going to use our Helmar 450. And just like that, a card with no purpose has a little bit more Christmas spirit to it. So, if you have stuff like that that's just sitting around and not getting used, maybe you can find a reason to use it. And that's why the bin full of Christmas stuff, let's review. Like I said, this is my savior. Because, I made the whole camera shake. All the stuff I find throughout the year, or that I didn't use, or I found one of this, and no more of it at the store, or maybe even, look, little stamped images that I colored at some point but never used, they're all in here. So, let's play with this guy. There's nothing better than finding stuff that you can use in the drawer. So I've got news for you. This is now becoming, isn't this cute? This is an image stamp from Riley Stamps. Riley the Moose. Super cute. And we're just going to take your basic card base and just start layering. Use my acid-free glue. This is just some lightweight patterned paper. Layer, layer, layer. World's quickest card. except for the fact that Riley took me a while to color because it was so fun. But why should he sit there in the drawer, you know? He needs to come out and play. Okay. And I think Riley needs a little bit of pop and dimension, so let's go ahead and grab Zap Dots. Give it a little kick. Put a couple of these on the back. Move the liners. And Riley's got a little pop. See that dimension? Let's flip around so you can see it better. Super fast. Super quick. And now you could stamp a sentiment on here if you wanted to. That's why I like to have a plain cardstock on top. And just because I feel like it, I might go ahead and use some glitter or some sorbet to color in the red ornaments, whatever you want. So see how fast? Cards don't have to be hour-long processes. Look how many we've made in this much time. And we'll be reviewing those when we're done too. All right, next up. Sometimes you got paper that just doesn't feel like it's in the Christmas spirit. And this one kind of feels that way to me. It's got swirls and stuff. It's okay. It kind of could be Christmassy. But this stripy thing, not feeling the Christmassy, are you? So let's make it Christmassy. Because I just have one more sheet of this, and there's nowhere else to go but become a project. So I'm going to break out my brand new stencil. The lovely Diane Reevely. And get out a little bit of colorations and just spray. With stencils, less is more. So you just spray a little bit and you'll get what you want, which is just a subtle hint of snowflakes. Suddenly, we've got Christmassy paper. Get these little extra blots up. Isn't that cool? So in seconds, we went from plain old stripe to Christmas paper. Now, I'll take that plain old paper, cut it down to a card base. Once again, like the standard size card is typically 5.5 by 4 1/4. Make sure I'm lined up good. Got a pretty little bit that I can use for a card. So that's, pretty instantaneous. There's so many things we could do with this. Let's see. What do we have in the bin? Another cute little Riley. He might be fun on here. We just need to bring a little bit of red in. I think we found something. Anyway, that's what I think one of the things I enjoy most about making holiday cards is just the sheer what have you. I don't know what's going to happen when I start making these or what I'm going to make, but I get really bored really fast of making the same thing over and over. So I just like to, like I said, go to the bin and find something to work with. So I'm going to grab this little thing because I think it's cute. And yeah, I think that's cute. And I'm going to grab a little piece of red out of my coupon file thing. And then put Riley on it. Hee, that's working. Working for me. Go ahead and use our acid-free. And layer. And once again, I'll make him a little more dimensional. Okay, quick, simple, and used up stuff. How's that for speedy? All right. Now, the next card show you. This one, isn't difficult to make. Once again, it's the same old self-adhesive chipboard that I talked about before. And a little more elegant, perhaps, this time. I'm just going to show you a few hints, once again, with the self-adhesive chipboard. I tend to use 450 with this. And I'm going to do a couple things to this one. I put my self-adhesive chipboard down. And then just to give it a little more sparkle, okay, so got everybody, nice little quick grab and everything's in place. And just for a little bit more sparkle, I'm going to grab, this is just one of those pen nibs. You can get these from Ranger, etc. I'm going to grab what's like a, I want to call it colorless. It's one of the more colorless of the sorbet. This one's called Dazzle, and it's just got a really great sparkle to it. And I'm just going to grab this with the pen nib and go ahead and put this onto my, you could use a brush too. I don't mind it being a little swirly because this stuff is dimensional. So I'm just kind of swirling it onto the snowflakes and sort of following that scroll work a little bit. Kind of swirling and putting that on there. A little thicker in some places than others, because this will maintain its dimension and give it a little more sparkle on the snowflakes. You can use it just to paint in certain areas, like the scroll work here. And I find that the things like this that are more time consuming. Oh, by the way, I can stick this in my water bin and go ahead and wipe it off, and it'll be ready to use for any other project. But the dimensional things, or the stuff that takes a long time to dry, they're almost always the last thing I do. So that once this is done, I can just walk away and let those things dry. And in like 5 minutes or so, I'm going to have really cool, sparkly embellishment. So once again, that was using the Helmar 450 to stick it down, and then with the Art Anthology Sorbet in Dazzle to kind of dazzle up our embellishments. All right. That is about all I have today. I just wanted to add one more idea in case you are still wondering what do you have that you could use for a project. And I'm just looking for a piece of paper. This is just super pretty. It's one of my favorites from the old fruitcake pack. This is like old stuff. But I'm going to show you just a really simple card that you can make. Oh, look who's still here. Back in the bin you go. And if you come in later or you'd like to take a look at these projects, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to come back and take a look at everything that's been done. I hope you find something that inspires you to make a few holiday cards. Once again, my handy dandy tool I mentioned before, secret, the butter knife. Perfect scoring tool. Best one ever made. I have never cut a piece of paper with the back of a butter knife, so I'm kind of loving it. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and stick down this layer onto my card base. Okay, and then I had a whole bunch of these acrylic clear letters. You ever had this stuff? And I was trying to spell out ho-ho, and it ended up with only ho, and that wasn't going to work. Don't laugh. So then I started saying, well, you know what? I can do better than that. So I found an N and an L, and I said I can go ahead and make, with my Helmar 450, a ho-ho. Because, you know, a hoe by itself is never as good as a ho-ho. Just saying. So we're going to go ahead and mangle this letter. Now we have an I for future use. Back in the bin it goes. And we can use our Helmar 450 to make this into a ho-ho. Now, grab the right glue. 450 dries clear, has a quick grab, so I can go ahead and stick these on here. And I'm going to show you my little special secret. I'm going to pop out the centers. I don't know what it is. I can't stand it when people don't pop out the centers of their letters. Personal pet peeve. Sure, you could have lived without knowing that. I better start from the outside in. Might be a little bit of layering here. But this is just showing you once again this glue is fabulous because it works for everything. This hose is at another level entirely. They may have gotten rid of Twinkies, but they have not gotten rid of ho-hos, have they? Please tell me they're not gone. Okay, and then we have a ho-ho. A little bit of layering there, but there are two reasons that I use this 450. First of all, that it's going to allow me to stick these things together. And second, because it doesn't care about wet. So, got it started here. Now, sorry, I'm laughing at myself. I made a big boo-boo, but I'm not going to tell you about it, not yet, because you'll laugh at me later. I can fix it. All right, now I'm going to take this Colorations And the 450 doesn't care if I'm working with wet media, so I can just spray this across here, and it's not going to really stick to the acrylic letters, so I can kind of wipe them off, and the background will get colored, but the letters will pop a little bit better, I think. And now I have a little better looking ho-ho. See how fun? So, to review, in our last 5 minutes of being together, we're going to kind of pull up all the different cards and see if there's any questions that come up. And we'll start from the back of the pile. First card we made was this lovely little number. This is a combination of heat embossing, metallic papers, transparency film, and having to use all those different adhesives to make it work. Okay, card number 1. Going once. A little bit different and fun different materials, and that's why everything works so well. You know, it's funny, I had great plans to use vellum tonight, and I didn't pull out my vellum adhesive, so that's really silly, but here is another card that we made tonight in review. And once again, once I put this on a card base, you have this, it's nice and loose. I like things to be loose, and so it's adhered to the back. It doesn't seep through the front with the 450, and then you have the nice dimension and stuff with the other pieces. Okay, snowman, number 2. Number 3, it's actually a small piece. It could be used as a tag, etc. And this used a big combination of the acid-free glue, the 450, the gem glue, all kinds of different things, because once again, different surfaces really need a different adhesive if they're going to stay together. Last thing you want to do is send someone a card and have it fall apart while it's going. Because the mail can be none too friendly to your cards. This was just a quickie. One of those cards from the pile that never made it anywhere, and I just found an embellishment. I mean, who knew we would find a purple and green snowflake somewhere out there in the world, but it was meant to be. So quick, simple, and honestly could work for almost any holiday, any of the winter holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, you name it. It's just a snowflake. It works for everything. I like to have some non-denominational cards in the mix. And another one, also from the bin of lost cards that weren't going anywhere. Just adding a little bit of glitter paper kind of pumps up the holiday feel, and a focal point with a snowflake again. It matches my nails. Yep, it does. I went for a holiday nail. Here's another super simple card. And this just came from the old, hey, I've got this little guy I colored, he's in the bin. So quick, simple layering, and voila. You could like go through these so fast if you just had some stuff that you were colored somewhere. And you definitely could put a sentiment here on the card as well. Lots of room for that. Another one. This was just a super quickie. I don't know if I'm done with it yet. I think it needs buttons or something. But once again, I just wanted to show how you could use the colorations and stuff to make something feel a little more wintry, and then bring the other colors in. We'll have to see what we can do with that. And this one, is that it? No. This one, where we kind of dressed up the chipboard. I don't know if you can see that snowflake. It's so pretty. Oops. It isn't quite dry yet, but it's nearly there. And it's just got that sort of tinselly glow to it. Once again, just all the different adhesives work so well in concert together to make your card stay together on its merry way. And last, the ho-ho. And just to give you something to ho-ho-ho all about, realize that I put this on the wrong way, and I'm going to have to flip around my cards, or otherwise they're going to be saying something entirely different. Oi, oi. That's what it looks like. Oi, oi. Because that's what I did. Put it on the wrong way. But I'm willing to make a fool out of myself just for you. So that's it for today's issue of Helmar Live. I hope you'll come see us. I believe we have a show next Tuesday. Cheryl will correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, I know. I'll be able to fix that. The oi oi will become a ho ho once again. And thanks so much for coming this evening. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we'll see if we have any questions.